Hey, welcome to Caspio Live. Let me know if you can hear me okay so that we can begin with today's topic on how to write better AI prompts. So if you are able to hear me, I just want to get that quick housekeeping item out of the way and we can begin and commence with today's presentation. So, hey, King Capo, welcome back. Didier, good to see you. Loud and clear? Okay, good. Always nice when we don't have any technical difficulties and issues that we have to overcome before we begin. So that's always a positive. All right, so in today's live stream, as the title indicates, we are going to learn how to write better AI prompts so that we can get a good response back from the AI. But in addition, not only are we going to learn how to write better AI prompts, but also cover some of the settings that are available in the profile and the agent so that you can control how precise the answer is going to be based on your specific use case or the need that you might have. And there are quite a few settings that we have released in the most recent release, 68 and 67. So we will talk about that as well. All right. So I think we're going to go ahead and begin. As you can see on the screen, I have created 5 different agents that we're going to look at today. And I have, for the 3 examples that we're going to look at today, for the 2 examples are going to have the same exact prompt, but I want you to see, based on the settings that you configure in the profile, how the response is going to be different based on the temperature, the top P, and the instructions that you give the AI. So it's very interesting to compare the 2 prompts, which are identical, but based on these settings, how they differ when they come back. So for the first example we're going to look at today is this one here, where we have adjusted to 0 temperature and higher temperature, which is more experimental. I'll talk about that in just a second. But I need to be able to generate a marketing tagline based on some information that I have in the table. And what I'd like to do first is go over the agent and the profile, and then we're going to go inside a table, and then you can see the submission and a different response that's generated based on the settings. So let's take a look at our profiles here. I have 5 different profiles. We have the default, then we have the one with the 0 temp, highly creative, and I will begin with the profile for 0 temperature. And I'll explain what temperature means and top P in just a second. But let's open up this profile and talk about these settings. The profile is used in conjunction with the agent. So when the agent runs, it looks at these settings in the profile and it knows how to respond back based on the prompt that you have typed out. So the first drop down here, you'll see OpenAI account. This is a built-in connection. No further setup is needed, but you can also connect your own OpenAI if you wanted to. We have different AI models that you can choose from. I always go with the recommended by Caspio, which is currently 4.1, but you can play around with different AI models if you'd like. And then we have something called temperature and top P. When it comes to temperature, the lower the number, it's going to be more precise of a response from AI. The higher the number, it's more experimental. Think of it like a volume knob on temperature. Okay? So if you want more of a precise short answer where the AI doesn't experiment as much, I recommend going with the lower number. But if you want a more experimental, more creative, then you can go with the higher number. So for my first profile that I chose is strictly deterministic. And then we have the top P, which if you read underneath, controls how selected the model is by limiting generation to the most probable tokens, which means is how wide should the vocabulary selection pool be? Okay, so how many, let me think of how the best way to explain this. How many word choices are available on the table? So it's limiting the number of words that are on the table that they can pick from. Okay, so the lower the number, the fewer the words available on the table. The higher the number, the broader word choice or selection is going to be. So they both affect randomness, but in different ways. Okay? Both of these affect randomness, but in different ways. So I highly recommend that you play around with that so that you can see what type of a response you're going to get back. Normally, if I'm looking for like a short answer, I will probably go with strictly deterministic. But if I want maybe a longer answer, more experimental and creative, I might choose something higher. I always like to say, like, for temperature, the best way to understand this is how bold do you want the AI to be, okay? It's going to be more bold if you go with the higher number. Okay, and then we'll talk about the knowledge and instructions in the second use case today. All right, so I'm just going to cancel here. You can see my settings for temperature to be 0 and very deterministic for top T value. And then for my second one, which is more creative, let me open up that profile. So exactly the same except for my temperature, I chose creative. And then for top P, maximum diversity, which means the pool of words is going to be larger for the AI to select from. All right, so now that we know that these two profiles, how they're set up, let's take a look at the agent. All right, so here's the one for 0 temperature that's using that profile. Okay, so you can see my profile, 0 temperature and low diversity. I have my table. We'll take a look at the table in just a moment. And then here's my prompt. Based on the product information below, write a short 2-sentence marketing tagline. Okay, and in my table, I have the product name, product description, target audience, and the tone that I want this to be written in. Okay, so these are my fields that already exist in the table. AI is going to look at these fields, and based on the information in the table, I needed to write a short 2-sentence marketing tagline. And I want it to be as precise because I'm using 0 temperature, volume all the way down, and lower top P. So less number of words that it can choose from. Right? So it's going to be very precise when it writes the marketing tagline based on this information. And best practice is when you're writing your prompts, the way I've decided to write my prompts now and moving forward is to include all of my fields underneath my prompt. And you also want to make sure you include the label before you insert the field name from your table. That way the AI knows, oh, okay, so that's the field based on that label, right? So it knows that this is going to be a product name and it's not trying to guess that that's the product name. Okay, so always include your label, colon, and then the field name afterwards. And then when you evaluate the prompt, it knows that it's returning a marketing tagline. That's what we need to return. And then on the next screen, you're going to map out that field to the table field. So in your field, of course, not only do you have the product name, description, and all of the other fields, but you also have a marketing tagline because that's what's coming back from AI. You want that written inside that field in the table. We have response status. It's going to let us know if it was successful or not. And then if it's not successful in the table, it's going to give you a reason why so you can troubleshoot and make the changes and fixes. All right, let's cancel. So that's the one with 0 temperature. And then we have one with higher temperature, more experimental. So let me show you that agent. It's the same exact prompt, nothing different with the agent. The only difference here is that we've attached a different profile with different temperature settings and different top T settings. And then I want you to see the difference when the response comes back. So now that we know these two agents, let's go into our table. So here is the one with 0 temp. Now, I've already made one submission. I thought about doing it live, but as you know, when you submit something to OpenAI, it could take a few seconds for the data to come in. And I didn't want us to sit here and wait for the response to come in. So I've already submitted it ahead of time, and then we could just simply see the response. So here's the product name. Here is my description, very basic description about this smartwatch. We have target audience, busy professionals. We have the tone. I want this written in confident and modern. And then we have the marketing tagline. So this is the one with 0 temperature. Okay, so very precise. Okay. And then you can read this for yourself if you'd like. Stay ahead of your day with the Apex Smartwatch X, where luxury meets intelligent health tracking. Experience unmatched performance and style designed for professionals who demand more. Right? Now let's compare that with the one with higher temperature. All right, so elevate your day with the Apex Smartwatch X AI health insights and a sleek titanium finish for unstoppable professionals. Stay ahead of effortlessly with 7-day battery life and advanced technology on your wrist. So I would say it's a little bit more creative compared to the precise answer. Okay, so that will be the difference. And then, it's not using more words, it's actually about the same length, but you can be specific in your prompt, if you write it out and say minimum 500 words or minimum 1,000 words. You can control how many words come back from AI. But you can see, I personally would consider this to be more creative compared to the precise answer that we just looked at. Okay. All right, let me know if you have any questions on using different temperature, different top P parameter when writing the prompt and configuring the settings in the profile. But I want you to see the difference with the response that comes back. Even though it's the same exact prompt, it's just using different settings. I think the next example is going to be a little bit more interesting, using instructions and file attachments to tell the AI how to behave and how to consider using these attachments when generating a response. All right, so let's talk about the next example, the next use case. Let me go to my table really quickly just so that you can see. Okay, so we want to be able to generate the customer response based on the customer name, issue summary, and product line. So the customer is going to submit an issue if they have an issue, and then we want to be able to generate a response, but we also want to generate that response based on company policy and a few other attachments that we have inside the profile. Okay, so let's go into our profile and let's take a look at the one with the files and one without the files. Because again, I want you to see how the AI generates the response based on the information you provided. So my first profile is with the files. So we have the company voice guidelines, we have the escalation policy, and legal disclaimer. So these are the attachments that belong to our company, or the files that belong to our company. And then you have the instructions text area where you give the AI instructions on how to look at these files. If you just have the files attached, that's not enough. Okay, they're just files. The instructions text area is just as important as the files. This is where you give the AI instructions how to look at these files to generate a response. Okay, so if you read this, these documents override emotional tone optimization. Never guarantee timelines outside the SLA. Never admit that we're wrong or we're at fault. Never promise financial remedies unless explicitly stated in the documents. If a customer demands conflict with policy, politely decline. Okay, so now you're telling the AI how to look at these documents and based on what's inside the document, how to generate a response. Okay, very important, both of these. I tested this out a few times. I had just the attachments first without the instructions, and it would basically write the same exact, almost the same identical response. It wouldn't really look at the documents, but once you put in the right instructions, then it knows how to look at the information inside the attachments. And then for the second one, without the files, there are no instructions, there are no documents attached, but I'm using the same temp and same top T parameter. Okay, so now that we have these two profiles, let's take a look at the agents that are using these profiles. So one with the files, just want you to see the prompt. Okay, so here's my prompt. Using the information below, draft a 3-paragraph customer response. So based on the customer name, the issue summary, and the product line. So these are going to be customer generated. Now they submit the issue, and then we have to adhere to those attachments that we have, which has the SLA. How quickly do we respond back? Do we admit guilt? Do we not? We're at fault. So you will see the response that comes in. And then you're just simply going to map out your fields on the following screen. The other one here is without the files. Okay, it's the same exact prompt, nothing different. And then in my table, let's open up both of these really quickly so that we can see. One with the files and one without the files. All right, so the issue summary, we're kind of forcing the AI to look at the document. So if I read this, the situation has become unacceptable. 7 major synchronization failures in 14 days, including one impacting regulatory compliance, having prompted executive and legal escalation. Previous assurances of resolution have proven inaccurate. The customer demands written admission, prevention confirmation, a 24-hour fixed timeline, and compensation details, or they will escalate to their board. All right, so that's the issue. We have our product line, and then we can see the customer response. All right, we have 3 paragraphs. Now, without those instructions and governance, the AI still writes beautifully, right? Both responses are going to be great, okay? One just adheres to company policy, and the other one just writes without it. But it's still going to give you a response, but it's going to admit fault. I think we can find it up here. Let's take a look. Find it. Oh, sorry, this is with the files. My apologies. So this one is with the files, and this one is without the files. So this is the one where we admit fault. We take full responsibility for these disruptions and impact they have on your operations. Okay, and it also mentions, please expect a comprehensive follow-up within the next 12 hours as requested. All right, so it doesn't look at the documents. It doesn't look at any instruction. It just writes based. It's still empathetic, right? And it acknowledges what the customer is saying, and it admits fault. That's the big one. But the one with the files, if you read this whole thing, I mean, it's lengthy. I can give you a few minutes here to read it, but you will see it doesn't admit fault. Okay, it is adhering to the company documents that are in the attachment and the instructions, and a response. There's no 12 hours. You can see here, we are prioritizing this issue at the highest level and are working around the clock to implement corrective actions. We will provide a detailed update on resolution timeline within the next 24 hours. Okay. And it doesn't talk about refunds or anything like that. It stays away from doing that as well. Just trying to read in between the lines here to find any other nuggets that I noticed. Yeah. So, and what's nice about it is that now every time you, if you use a different agent, and as long as you're using that profile again for a different use case or something else, it's always going to look at those instructions and company documents, and you don't have to put that inside the prompt. Okay? Just piggybacks on those instructions and the documents, and it knows how to respond every single time. All right. Teaching AI to behave like an ex-wife's lawyer. Ah, that's funny. I can relate. But enough about that. All right. So we can move on to the last example. Hopefully you found that, helpful. So let me come back here and let's go into our very last table. I'll just open it. Let's close that. Let's go into our last example. For my profile, I'm using the default profile. Okay. Didn't make any changes here. I'm using creative temperature with creative top T parameter. You can see I have no files in here. And then in my agent, the instructions are very clear, using the RFP details and all the attached proposal documents. Draft a tailored executive summary aligned to the client's requirements. What's nice here is that we can include multiple attachments now. Before, we can only have one file from the table to be used as an attachment. Now you can have multiple, okay? So these are the documents submitted by the customer, okay? Along with the RFP title, client industry, key requirements, budget, submission deadline. And what we're asking the AI to do is to look at all of the attachments along with this information from the table and then generate back an executive summary for us to use. Now, even though I'm attaching my documents in here, you can also reference these files inside the prompt if needed. So you could say, now the reason why my file names, I've named attachment 1, attachment 2, attachment 3, because they could be different files, you know, but if they're always static file names like RFP guidelines, and I don't know what else you would call other attachments, you can have those be actual field names in the table, and then you can reference those field names by including them here. So we have attachment 1, file name. So you can say these are RFP guidelines. Okay. Then you have, I don't know, compliance guidelines, something like that. That could be attachment number 2 so that the AI knows, just like up here where you can see that, right? You can give it a label, what that attachment is going to be, what the second attachment is going to be. However, you know, unless you're specific on your submission form, here, upload, you know, RFP guidelines. Second attachment, upload compliance guidelines. Okay, so if you're specific about that, then it makes sense. You can include the actual file name and a label for that exact file. However, in my example, I guess I should have thought about that in advance, but you know, I'm allowing just 4 attachment fields and it doesn't matter like which one goes where. So if it's random, then just have it like that without the labels, because then the AI won't know that, you know, what is attachment number 1 can be different from somebody else's submission. But very helpful as well to include the labels along with the attachment to reference the file and the label so that the AI knows, okay, so that's that, along with, obviously, you have to include the attachments here as well. Okay. And then it comes back, once you evaluate, it comes back what we're receiving from AI, which is the executive summary. You're going to map that out. Hopefully I didn't make any changes here. Let's continue. Yeah, you map out the executive summary, the response status. Let me cancel that. And let's go into our table. So when I first submitted this, I submitted it without the attachments. Okay, so we have client industry, which is healthcare. We have the RFP title, which is statewide healthcare data modernization initiative. And then we have the key requirements. Okay. HIPAA compliant cloud architecture. We have 99.9 uptime SLA, real-time reporting dashboard. So these are all of the requirements. Their budget. Okay. And submission deadline. Without the attachments, here's the response. Let me see if I can so that we can. All right. So it's lengthy. So that's the executive summary without the attachments. The AI still knows how to write beautifully. It knows how to respond back to that, but it doesn't look at the files that are attached. Okay, which were also submitted. Our proposal. I mean, I read this earlier, but now there's so much information that I'm forgetting like what the key differences are between the two, and I know what I have in my attachments here. It's looking at the SLA. It's looking at pricing as well. Leveraging our extensive experience with large healthcare networks, we will implement a scalable solution that meets and exceeds 99.95% uptime SLA, ensuring continuous availability and reliability of critical health data services. To address compliance, our solution is architected to achieve SOC 2 Type 2 certification. We are confident that our approach aligns with your budget of $250. Okay, so let me take a look at the difference now. I think what I'll do is I'll have both of these opened up in 2 different tabs. So let's open it. and expand the one with the attachments. It's much bigger, longer. I'm just trying to see if I can note some key differences here. I know there's more information about the SOC 2 because it's looking at the documents. What's the closing statement? We are confident or secure, resilient, interoperable platform will accelerate your statewide healthcare versus the one without. Yeah, I mean, it's important to look at the difference. There's a lot of writing here. I mean, I don't want to have to read between the two, but there are definitely notable differences because the second submission is looking at these attachments. Okay, it's looking at the data from within and it's generating response. Whereas the first one, no attachments, but the AI still know how to respond. But this one is actually following the documents. It's much longer, and I have unfortunately forgotten what was inside these attachments when I set this up yesterday. And I definitely don't want to open up each and now look into the differences and the details. But I assure you that the AI is looking at those attachments, okay? And it's generating a response based on that. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Based on today's topic, I knew that today's session wasn't going to be as long. We have used 27 minutes. So if you have questions about what we talked about today or anything else, let me know. Happy to answer any questions you might have. But I just wanted to show you that two things. One, when you write the AI prompt, it's always good to just give instructions first and then underneath reference your fields with the label. Very important to put the label of the field so the AI knows what you're talking about. Okay? If it's a ticket title, ticket description, put the label, colon, and then the field name. Okay, so the AI doesn't confuse the two. That's number one. And number two, I wanted to show you how you can change the settings in the profile for temperature to write more precise or experimental, and the top P, which allows basically controls how many words are on the table that the AI can choose from. Okay, the lower the number, the fewer the words. The higher the number, you get more words that you can choose from. Okay, both affect randomness. Okay, both affect randomness, but in different ways. And just play around with it until you're happy with the response that you get back. It also affects the pricing too on your end. Okay, the lower the number, it's going to cost you less. Higher the number, it's going to cost you a little bit more credits. Okay, so look into that as well. Okay. Well, they affect randomness in terms of, going back and forth between the two, So think of temperature like the volume knob, right? It's going to be more experimental versus precise. So precise is going to give you exactly what you want. Experimental is going to explore other ways of responding in more creative ways. Okay. But when you use the top P parameter, you noticed from my example, it was written the same length, right? But it's more creative when the temperature is turned up versus turned down. It's giving you more of a, how do I put this? More specific response, I guess, more exact response. Like if I were doing, let's say, in one example that I used before with ticket title and ticket description, if I give it a prompt and say, give me a one-word sentiment based on ticket title and description as either neutral, positive, or negative, I would go with strictly deterministic, lower top P parameter because I don't need any more words than just the 3 words that I'm asking for. And I would also go with temperature scaled turned all the way down because I'm looking for a specific response. I hope that answers your question, Ali. Let me know if you're okay with that. Okay, perfect. Let me take a look at the question. Something else, when I upload a photo, could I make it so it only uses the cell phone camera? Oh, that's a good question. I've done this implementation before. However, it's not a standard feature in Caspio to upload user. Well, let me think about that for a second. Like you cannot activate the camera without some custom development. Are you using Bridge? I think you are you on Robert, are you on Bridge framework or are you on the Flex framework? I don't think it matters, but if my memory serves me well, and I haven't done this in a little while, but we might even have a how to. Email me. Send me an email. I'll look into this a little bit deeper for you. Okay, so let me send you my email, and I'll give you a response today, very quickly, actually. If my memory serves me well, I don't think that there's a way to use your phone to take a photo. Like you can take a photo, obviously, it will go into your photos, and then on the submission form, you have to browse, find it. But I'm just trying to remember if you can do it on the phone with standard features. Why can't I remember this? I apologize. It's been a long time since I've done this. Really can't remember. I even did a few examples years ago about using photos on the phone, but now it's not coming back to me. It can switch on your camera. Did that before. Like I know our submission forms have a browse to locate something on your computer. Give me a second. I'm still just trying to think out loud here. Um, if I'm looking at the submission form on my phone, there's the browse button, but I think it's looking at. I'm wondering if it works with the phone to look at the photos that you have on your phone, and you have to find it. You select it, you attach it, and you hit submit on the form via your phone. I think that will work, but I don't think there's a way to activate the camera using a Caspio submission form to take a photo. I'll have to look into it. Bridge. Okay, yeah. Shoot me an email and be as specific as you can in terms of what you're doing. Are you trying to, from the form itself, the bridge form, submission form, to activate the camera as well? I cannot remember. Why cannot remember what the difference is? This is really bugging me. When you don't use it, you lose it. As the phrase goes. Just frustrating. And I cannot even think to use my phone right now with the form that I might have with the upload button. Well, I don't know if the AI can answer Caspio's capabilities because AI doesn't really fully understand Caspio's capabilities. But if you feed it once and you let AI know that it can do that, then AI will remember that. And it'll answer all of your future questions with knowing that. All right. So I don't want to keep going here because we have officially concluded today's session. So I will go ahead and close today's class. I hope you enjoyed it. As I said before, when you write the AI prompts, be as clear as you can be for the AI so that it knows what you're hoping to generate back. And always make sure you include your fields along with the labels. Very important so the AI doesn't get confused what we're talking about. AI can be too creative with the answer. Yeah, sometimes it can be. All right, but it's so interesting. It's so interesting. I really like the second example when you attach the files and you tell the AI how to look at those files. Very important. That's super important to tell the AI how to look at those attachments before it generates so it knows how to generate the answer. Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you, Didier. Good to see you as always. You too, King Capo and Airly. Robert, good to see you as well. Hope to see you in the future classes. There's no topic available yet for the next one, but it will be available today or tomorrow, and it'll go public. But I'm assuming it's going to be another live build of an actual use case. So, um, But the block its only camera is available. Huh. Okay, that might actually, Robert, that might require some custom development so that the only camera is available without looking at. I see what you're doing. So you just want to take a photo and submit that photo via the form versus upload a photo button where it looks at your library and allows you to select. So that might, I'll look into it, but I can guess what the answer is going to be. It'll be more of a custom development if you don't want that. But, I'll verify it. So let me send you my email one more time. It's in the chat, but I'll submit it one more time. King Capo, if you have a topic in mind, you can send me an email. I do take on requests, and I will let you know if it makes sense for the live stream, number one, and two, when I will be bringing it to the live stream. All right. So again, thank you all so much for attending. I do appreciate your attendance. As I always say, without your attendance, there would be no live stream. So I do appreciate that. And I always say this, even if you attend a live stream, you don't have to pay attention. You can just focus on something else. You can mute me, but the attendance matters so that, people are attending and we can continue with the live stream. All right. Thanks, Robert. All right, so thank you so much. I'll keep the comment section open for another minute or two, and then we'll go ahead and close today's stream. So again, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you in 2 weeks' time. Bye-bye.